Good morning. Good morning. 6 minutes, huh? My name is Suzanne Prentice. I'm the coordinator and founder of the Live Well Kalkaska Substance Free Coalition, the prevention specialist for Kalkaska County, and one of 3 for Grand Traverse County through Catholic Human Services Up North Prevention. I'm on the executive board of the Grand Traverse chapter of Families Against Narcotics, and I'm also on the board of Before, During, and After Incarceration. I'm a retired Navy wife of 20 years. But more importantly, I'm the mother of a 34-year-old son with co-occurring substance use and mental health disorders, currently incarcerated in the Michigan Department of Corrections for possession charges for the second time. First picture. My firstborn son of 2, Anthony, was born to my husband Tim and I while stationed in Virginia Beach, Virginia, on active duty in the Navy. Anthony was a darling, tiny, blonde-haired, blue-eyed bundle of energy. The first 4 years of his life were happy, and he was sweet and smart and loved life. When I was told I had 6 minutes to tell you Anthony's story, I sat down several times and wrote out different things, my different versions. How do I tell you the story of this son, brother, and father, and uncle in 6 minutes? Next picture, please. Do I tell you of the many times Anthony was severely bullied in the public school system and how I slowly saw the light disappear from my child's eyes? How I saw him fidgety, depressed, and anxious, and sometimes angry. Third picture. Do I tell you about the day my husband found my young son on his knees by his bed praying for God to take his life at just 7 years old? He felt life was too hard to continue. Or when he came home from middle school bruised all over his ribs from being kicked and beaten by 3 boys in art class. Or when he was bullied on the bus so bad he ran in the house and tried to hang himself with his belt. Should I tell you about the time he threatened his own life with a knife and was placed in the behavioral health hospital yet again? The hospital always told me they couldn't diagnose him because he was not yet 18. They would keep him overnight and then let him go home. The most recent time, he purposely overdosed on fentanyl. I was the one who drove 4 miles into town after receiving a call that he was making funny noises. I could hear him struggling for air in the background. I calmly told the young lady to call 911 as I grabbed my Narcan and then jumped into my car and flew into town. The ambulance pulled in at the same time. I jumped out of my car and yelled that he was overdosing in the house. I, not EMT, ran in and Narcaned my own son. A few minutes before EMS even walked in. Later, Anthony said he felt so alone that he thought that we had given up on him because we were trying the tough love approach. Let me tell you, tough love does not work with many people. Do I tell you, let's see, next photo, please. Do I tell you about how he excelled in sports and music? From soccer to baseball, he always did well. At the age of 11, we enrolled him in Taekwondo in the hopes of building his self-esteem. He was just short of a black belt when we had to return to Virginia from being stationed in Maryland. At 14, he joined a community basketball team where he was a star. This small kid could outrun, outshoot, outmaneuver just about anyone. Do I tell you about the 5 guitars he purchased and how he taught himself to play? Or do I tell you about how he was a hard worker and had good work ethics? Photo 5, please. Do I tell you about how the psychiatrist gave him all different types of medications for his depression, anxiety, and ADHD starting at just 13? Or do I tell you about how at the age of 14 he was given a strong opioid for a basketball injury? Anthony often says that the opioids made him feel better. They fixed all his problems. It was the best medication to fix not only the physical pain, but the emotional pain. Photo 6. Do I tell you, after he was given the opioid, his life spiraled out of control? How he went to juvenile detention, to jail, prison, and rehabs too many times to count. He began to make poor choices and started experimenting with other drugs and alcohol. The friends he made accepted him for who he was. Every time he spent time in jail or prison, it was somehow linked to his substance use disorder. Next photo. Do I tell you how much he loves his children and how much it tears him apart to not be able to be the father they deserve? That's a hard one. Do I tell you that throughout his life he has had a strong spiritual belief and faith in God? He says even in the hard times he can feel him. Do I tell you of the many times at the altar on his knees praying for God to take the addiction and pain away? Photo. Next photo. Do I tell you about the time 3 years ago that he finally pulled it together and was doing everything right? He was off substances for almost a year. He had a great job that he loved, was raising his 2 boys with his longtime girlfriend, had a relationship with his daughter and the rest of his family. He was literally the poster boy for recovery. I don't know if you recognize this billboard, but it was up in our area, and that's him on it. Until the judicial system decided to charge him with a possession charge from a year earlier, despite recommendations from the prosecutor. The judge took his license and placed him on 12 months probation. In that moment, he heard that without a car, he couldn't get to work and that he lost his job. In that moment, he heard that all the hard work he had done didn't mean anything. In that moment, I saw a fight or flight reaction. He flew up out of the chair and returned to using. Photo 9. Do I tell you how I've reached out so many times for help with my son and how the system has failed? Do I tell you that he is currently doing 18 months for possession when he was in possession of a simple pipe with residue? And that's 18 to 120 months. If he doesn't do well in there, if he gets in a fight or anything, he could do up to 120 months. Do I tell you that this young man who was severely bullied throughout his life is now in a system which further bullies, and despite what you may think, drugs are easily accessible? I never thought that our middle-class, military, church-going family would end up affected by mental health and substance use. It can happen to anyone. In conclusion, parents and loved ones need to be involved in healthcare. The system needs to listen to what we have to say as parents. We need to be allowed to advocate for them when they cannot advocate for themselves. Just because someone says they are okay does not mean they are. Substance use disorder needs to be seen as what it is, a mental health disorder. It should not be separated. Clearly, someone who is self-harming themselves with substances because they are unable to cope cannot properly advocate for themselves. Mental health care should not be separated from physical health care. The brain is just as much a part of the body as the heart, liver, and lungs, and just as important. Individuals with mental health and substance use disorder do not belong in prison. They should be treated for their condition, not punished. Our current mental health and substance use disorder programs need to be expanded and updated, and all should be covered under insurance for the duration of the disease. We do not currently have enough services, and the services we do have are too short and not effective. The programs which are effective are too high priced and out of the reach for the average family. We need program reform. Many of the programs my son was placed in were cold, gray, and depressing. How can we expect individuals who suffer with depression to heal in environments that don't heal? Programs should be warm, positive, and build self-esteem. They should provide a place to heal mind, body, and spirit. Substance use disorder, mental health conditions, and even physical health conditions can stem from experiences such as trauma. Programs should be trained in trauma therapy. They should be created to help individuals relearn how to cope. I believe that programs should build hope. Being in a classroom learning how substances are bad for you doesn't work. They know they are bad. Programs should offer healthy foods, physical activities, and daily activities which rebuild purpose. Programs should help to teach people how to live happy and healthy. Thank you.